Okay. Yieldex. Got it. Okay, so the first question is, if you were advising Doug Kostman, would you recommend that he accept the offer from Turn to acquire Yieldex? Why or why not?
I think he shouldn't do it. In one of the cases, it talks about how much he's going to have to pay back the stock, the investors, and everything. And it's going to put him bad. Yeah, if he does it, okay, they're going to pay him $2 million and $2 million, but after paying out near that. So in the long run, like you said, he's going to weigh his pros and cons. Return in assets and investment and equity if he sticks with Shields and goes throughout the long run. But there's also high risk in it.
Right. I definitely came up with the same conclusion. I mean, personally, if he just stuck it out, he could get way more than $2 million from a company. So I just think it's...
And yeah, it might take a little while.
It might take a while, but I feel that...
It'd be better in the end. Side of this, he doesn't get the cash right away like he would if he pays out. So there are pros and cons of each. The better of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes what you don't get in some of these cases is, what if the dude, he just wasn't really into it anymore and he had some other idea and he wanted to go do something else?
Exactly. That would be then the pro of just taking the cash right away and going and investing it in the new product.
Yeah, and then another thing is the two guys who've been negotiating the equity deal, they've been going back and forth forever. What if that continues throughout the business and nothing gets done because they don't agree?
And if that was the case, that he wanted to create something new, another software or whatever, I still think $2 million are still a low blow. He could get more for it.
Well, yeah, but that $2 million is also better. It's already twice as much as what his company was worth, it said in one of the exhibits, I think it was. So he is coming out on top, but after paying stockholders and what was the other one?
But isn't him having a salary of $200? $200,000, sorry.
Yeah, but it's more than what he put in himself.
I mean, it's always the risk and reward, right? So the reward is greater, but so is the risk. So, I mean, obviously he's an entrepreneur, and was that you, Austin, talking about watching Shark Tank and stuff before?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you see those things where they say, well, I'll just give you all this for the whole company, and they're like, so obviously it really just boils down to whatever this dude wants to do. I don't have any emotional attachment to the business, so it's easy to sit here and say, yeah, I'd hold on and make more money, but there's no guarantee either. So there's just a lot of factors that just you don't see.
Because if he continues, he may get less than $2 million if it just goes the complete wrong way.
That's true.
See, that's the difference between successful entrepreneurs and not successful entrepreneurs, is knowing when to walk away and take the pay.
Yep. That is true.
But I think Jake mentioned how Shields was very not sustainable with its actions, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each have pros and cons. It comes down to, a long run plan.
So Jake, so after paying out everything, what was he pulling away from the deal?
Let me see if I can find it. My computer's lagging.
Is it in one of the exhibits?
No, you have to do a little bit of math. I mean, in the end, he's coming out for himself and his family, but after paying back the investors in the stock that he issues out, it's not as much as what the complete potential that who was it? Shields, is that his name? Yeah, the Shields co-owner deal could come out with in a couple of years. So
Gotcha.
even though, yeah, he'd have the cash on hand if he sold to turn over a gradual time, and then some completely more with Shield. Sorry, I'm still trying to find it. My computer's not.
No, that's completely
My
fine.
computer's crap now.
Personally, I wouldn't sell. I think there in the future there'll be a better deal personally, but that's just a lot of unknown factors as well.
Yeah, and really, that's all we're saying is like, hey, if we were the person, what would we do, right?
Right.
Not like, what does this guy do? Because who knows what he's gonna do. But I would like to think that I'd have the gumption to say, you know what, I'm gonna stomach this out. I'm gonna make it even better and win even bigger.
Yeah. Perfect. While Jake's finding that info, we can go to the next question.
It doesn't say directly the money. It just says that he has to pay back. It looks like. So I think I did it this one. Okay, he did.
I think the investors invested like $3 million.
Yeah. And so after everything was paid off, he would end with less than $1 million.
Right.
So let me ask you guys a question. Like, I'm looking at this question one. So wouldn't the, Series A financing, Series B, Series C, so, oh, never mind. I'm reading this wrong. It looked like, okay. So if complete Series B at 2 times the amount of new money raised in Series A at 2 times that share price. So the share price is doubled than the previous one. I thought it was talking about the original share price of 50 cents.
Right.
One of them's like 2 times this, then the next one's 1.5 times 50 cents, and I was like, why would the share price?
Right. Perfect. Next question. Assuming Costman rejects the turn offer, what deal should he strike with Tom Shields? What is fair? Does Shields deserve 50% of the equity? Should he be considered a co-founder? Why and why not?
I think
some part of the equity.
Go
ahead.
What?
No, you go ahead, man.
I think he deserves part of the equity, Bill Shields, because I mean Shields is putting so much into it, but I don't think it should be a 50-50 partnership.
Okay, but playing devil's advocate, if put yourself in Shields' position and not coming from Costman's position, would you think that you deserved 50% if you're leaving your own company that you had to join another company and to
That's true.
basically run the company?
Well, then okay, so with your devil's advocate, let's say, if Shields did that, does that mean that Shields then should deserve more? Or does it come to a 50-50 partnership? I think that they could both argue it, but it comes down to where is it going to go. So I guess a 50-50 would be reasonable for both parties.
Shields wants the
In a way.
50-50. Kaufman doesn't want the 50-50.
Yeah.
So basically, one of the good things about Shields is that it's a company that just specializes on softwares companies. So they somehow understand the market. But even though how much impact they could create on the company, I don't think it's fair to have a 50-50 just because they were not the founders. But why not the 60-40? Like, I still believe that she'll need to have a big equity since they need incentivization to make the company big, because if they get another software person and the other one accepts a 50-50, they might not focus as much as they would with this guy.
It really comes down to like the friend, like the relationship the two individuals have, like real life speaking here. Like, do they care much for each other? Do they not care much for each other? Like, it would be questions you'd have to ask the individuals. Because at that point, that's something I'd base off too. Because if I was the founder of a company, if I really liked Tom Shields, I liked his vision, his drive, his expertise, then I would have no problems making him a 50-50 co-founder with me. If I knew he was aiming for the stars too. Like, it's, I don't know, it's touch and go. Like, it's hard to answer these questions that are so cut and dry when business is so gray.
Yeah. It's also a matter of, like, in the future too, like, in the future you're most likely going to bring on more investors, and so you're then going to start diluting your own share, your own equity shares to get other people in, and so 40% could soon come down to 30 when you bring in other people. So. So let's see here. So personally, I think the 50-50 is fair. Obviously, because it said that Kaufman wasn't really, the leader, the CEO of the company. He was more of the brains behind the company. So I think 50-50 is fair, personally, just for that reason.
Yeah.
Should we go to the next one?
Yep.
Okay. If you don't like the deal in the case, what alternative would you propose?
That deal that someone brought up, the 60-40, I believe that would be a good alternative, because that's kind of like, we lost Ryan. The 60-40 is nice, but I don't know. Like, I'm very on board with the 50-50 deal, but 60-40, if you weren't wanting to give up too much of your company, could be a completely solid alternative too.
Right.
Or even if it was a 51-49% whole majority.
Yeah, just so he has that.
Exactly, he
like
has
you
that
said.
advantage.
Yeah. Or you could even design the deal to where it's 60-40, and then have the option for what it's Shills, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
For Shills to get 10% more in the future.
I think it also came down as how much time those dog wants to keep investing in his family or in his business or in his another business. Just like I don't know who said, I think it was Ryan that said about if he was ready to move on. I think a 50-50 would be good, because he doesn't have to care about who is in the board or the company board, but Shields instead, which has more experience, and he will just let it flow.
Yeah.
Well, right on page 4, it says straight up that Shields is like, look, I'm going to be coming here, taking this big salary cut, and it wouldn't justify the risk with anything less than 50%. So it just might not happen if he doesn't agree to that, you know, and that's just part of negotiations.
Right.
That
So
could be, he could be bluffing as well.
so if he doesn't take the equity deal at all with Shields, should he sell his company then? Or should he go and try and find another partner?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I like your idea of doing like, hey, let's do a 60-40, and you know, like you got to earn that other 10%. If you're all that in a bag of chips like you say you are, then you know if these different criterias are met, then yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're
You
just
can earn it because it's risky for him to give away 50% just like that too.
Yeah.
yeah, and that kind of stuff exists. It's like they're like success clauses, like based upon success intervals. You get this and this and this.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Or he can kind of set it up in the sense of like, look, I'll give you 40% now, and then when we go for our Series B fundraising, then you can buy more shares at half the price than anyone else. Like there's just different ways to structure it to where he can get more equity in time.
Yeah, I like that. Then you're not telling him no. You're saying yes, and this is how we can do that.
Yeah, and it's basically saying, look, I see the value in you, but right now with the company, I can't give you that equity that you want at the moment, but at a later date, I can give it to you. And then, let's see, so that answered that. And then the last question is, who should Cosmin turn to for assistance in making these decisions?
Who can you repeat that question again?
Who can Cosmin turn to help making these decisions? I think in the case study he went to his wife, and I think any of us who are married, we all could agree that going to your spouse for a decision like that would be one of the top things to do. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, usually a couple of us have, business mentors or people we look up to. And, I'd hopefully have someone like that who's someone I could go to with that kind of question.
Yeah. And in this situation, though, it's interesting because Cosmin's mentor is the one offering him the deal.
Oh, yeah. But I guess, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd have a lawyer involved for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of a business lawyer. Because, I mean, he didn't build up that company to the point where it was at with no legal counsel. Not to say that he had a lawyer in-house and whatever, but, so, I mean, I'm thinking, your lawyer, your tax accountant, what's all this going to mean, when we change that stuff up? That's definitely another huge one you got to keep into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that about the lawyer, to talk to the lawyer about the legal consequences, and I think that could be a good parameter to decide. And also mentors, professors, or whoever he feels can give him a good counsel.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Well, I think that does it for that one. So that was the last question. So I'll end this and I'll send the link in the chat before I close it, so you guys can copy it and then you can leave the group chat whenever you want.
Okay.
Do you send the first one through where?
I sent it in the chat, so there should be a chat on the right-hand side of your screen.
And
if you
sorry,
want.
that was for the home plate, right?
That one was for home plate, and then this one's going to be for